2020 has been a crazy year so far. It went from World War III on the cards, and then it went to everyone in masks with COVID, and now the United States is burning. So I would feel that I have a somewhat of a knowledge on civil unrest. I live in Northern Ireland, which is it's a real hellhole, and the reason it is such a hellhole is because of 50 plus years of division, and that division, was really sparked off in 1972 with the Bloody Sunday and I think it's Bloody Friday as well. I'll just give you the numbers so far. Just to give you an idea of what this year, 1972, was really like. There was 479 killed. 130 of those were British soldiers, and 4,876 were injured. And I'm sure a lot of those were severe injuries, life-threatening injuries, life-destroying injuries. So, the reason I give the comparison to 1972 is because that was a real bad year in a country that's, a very small, and, Ireland itself has a lot of history with battling against Britain, so that's how it all started. I won't be going into how the whole thing started and what it's all about, but I'll just give you a few bits and pieces here and there. Really, I think it's the whole war itself, it's called the Troubles, but it was a civil war. It was about religion. It was about where you were from, where you live, and even what accent you have. If you had a British accent over here, in some places, even if you were brought up in England and you moved over here and you were Catholic, if you went into a Catholic area, they'd probably do your fucking head in. They would kick your head in just for that. And I did not live in the worst times of the Troubles, but I would say that I have pretty good knowledge. And first I'll give you an anecdote of I would say the best way of conveying how much knowledge I have is kind of like this. Well, in 1998, in the summer of 98, I went to the cinema to see Dr. Dolittle with my cousin. I was only 8 at the time, and when we left the cinema, I was with my cousin, and me and my mother and cousin would see one after the other, one ambulance going up, another ambulance, and there was about four or five ambulances. And when my mother asked this random person, because we were walking back home, the lady mentioned that there was a bomb, and I don't really remember much after that part, but the next bit I can remember is hearing the death tally going up and up and up. And I was, upstairs hearing, getting the next update, of how many were dead. And because it was an absolutely excellent sunny day that day, I could have easily been in that area. I could have been dead. And this is not some kind of sob story in my behalf, because I wasn't injured at all. Frankly, I consider myself very fortunate that I was in the cinema, because if I wasn't, I would have heard the bomb. I didn't even hear the bomb. Uh, my dad heard the bomb, and he lived about a mile away. Uh, so like I wasn't scarred from it. Like I'd say if I heard it, I would be scarred from it. But that's how close I came. Like to death, or potential death, or severe injury. And I may not have been, but like you couldn't escape it. And this was in 1998. Like more than 26 years. Like after 1972. So I like it's been going on a long time, and these days it's whittled down a lot. It's partially due to a lot of politics and a lot of peace deals being done, and to be honest, it's a lot of it is to do with just people dying off. Like people get old and they don't want to fight anymore, or they just outright die. But it really has torn the country apart, and I don't want that to happen to the United States. The United States has always been my favorite country from when I was little. Like it just seemed so cool. Like these days, I love its patriotism. I love its loyalty to each other and protecting each other, and like family values. But things have waned a lot in the last couple of decades, and it's not as patriotic. But I can't speak for everyone. But morons that riot, like they're really, really bringing things way back. They are just destroying their community just so they can vent some anger. And I would say a lot, or at least some of the reason for a lot of these riots is because of the lockdown. And it'd be interesting if there's any statistics to back that up. But for now, I would say that that's a possibility, because people were like getting angry at all these lockdowns, and a lot of it did tip over, and that the killing of George Floyd definitely was a tipping point. Now, to be clear again, like if I think I mentioned in the last video, maybe I didn't, but to be clear now, the killing of George Floyd was unnecessary. It did need to happen, and it was a tragedy. Now, I won't besmirch his name by saying that he was a long-time criminal, but it's a fact that he was. However, one side is making him a deity, which he does not deserve, and a lot of people are saying that he was a criminal, but they should just say one thing, right? The police did not do their job. They killed him. And I would say it's a third-degree murder, where the person did not intend to kill, but did anyway. So if that's the case, then that's the case. But it was an excuse, to riot. And I can definitely understand them protesting for police reform, or justice to be served against the cops and any other cops that do such a thing. Of course, I am on their side. I do not want those handful of police that do something like that to be free. I want them to be arrested. I want them to lose their jobs and their pensions come to that matter. But Aside from Minneapolis, there's no need to riot in any other city because it didn't happen there. They're just using it as an excuse to go crazy, to go mental, and they think it's fun. And there's looting everywhere, and I've heard a lot of times, but I always think it's kind of, it's sensible to say is that how does looting a massive TV be justice to George Floyd? Now, I would love someone to try and answer that by rebutting it. I would really love them to try and rebut that, but uh, there should be protests against it. I agree. I agree there should be protests, even nationwide. However, for them to riot, they're not protesters, they're rioters, and I would say the majority are rioters, not protesters. Now, CNN and the rest of the fake news media, they're on the rioters' side by saying, oh, this isn't happening. Oh, no, they're all peaceful here today. And there's compilations on YouTube of the bullshit that the fake news media are portraying this whole chaos. They're saying one thing, when the other, when quite the opposite is true. And I really do not understand why this is the case. They're against America by doing that. Maybe it gets them views for saying that, or maybe it's just for their agenda. Would they have done this if it was the Tea Party? That's a party in America. I'm not really sure about too much about them, but if there was a protest that broke into riots from this Tea Party, would they have been as unbiased or biased, for the rioters? I don't think so, because I think the Tea Party's on the right. I'm not really sure. I should have done that bit of research, but I didn't really think it would come up. But no, I don't think so. As long as it's to do with their agenda, the fake news media will continue to portray anything that goes for them to be nice and squeaky and clean, when quite the opposite is true. But, I'm really scared for the future of America, because at the very least, there's millions of dollars of property damage. And, there's people that are just too angry. They're just people too angry to listen to reason. And they don't care about the long-term implications of all of this. And that's a real shame. It really is. I do not know where things are going to go from here, but as I said, my country has definite knowledge about civil wars and a lot, a long-term civil war, and how much impact it has in the in the aftermath. Now, America has had a civil war, but it ended nearly 170 years ago. So, a long time has passed. But for them to say that America's a racist country, that is not true. Come on. There is racists everywhere. But the least racist country in the world is America. Now, you just look in depth to other countries such as China, where there was an incident where they actually they refused to serve black people. Now, I'll get the evidence up for that in another video, or maybe this video, but yeah, that really happened. And other countries, the exact same, if not worse, than China. My country, I would say it's pretty racist. Less racists these days. But even my mother, says that when she saw a black man, they would be in shock. Back then, because there was no black people over here, and the only black people that were patrolling soldiers. But America just needs to take a deep breath, and I'm talking about the whole of America. I don't want a civil war to break out, but it all depends on these lunatics that are rioting. There needs to be harsh penalties for these assholes, and to be honest, I don't think that a lot of people will get jail time for this, because they're being bailed out by celebrities, and they're just, they're probably going to get judges that are left-leaning or sympathetic, and they'll get community service or something. Come on, that is not the way it should be. I think it's an absolute disgrace. What judges have been doing in the last few decades with, being biased and all. But I do not want cops in America to kill anybody by the way they did that, the kneeling in the back of the neck. It truly is a horrific video. I haven't seen the video actually, but to know that for 8 minutes or so he was pinned to the ground and with the knee in the back of the neck, it sounds extremely painful. To lose your life that way would be horrific. Two things can be true at once. The death was horrific. It was a murder. But also, who says it was racist? If evidence comes out that he was racist, then I'll say he was racist. It might not have been a racist killing. It could have been anybody. It could have been a person of the same stature and the same height and the same strength as George Floyd, but white. And I honestly believe that this wasn't a racial thing. It was just it just happened to be a black man. I guess. So it needs to be really thought about. These people that are not going to listen to reason, who says they're going to listen to reason now? But the people that are on the fence, people with more of a brain than the people are not going to listen, well, they should take into account what I'm saying now. And if there's anybody that, are on the fence, then, leave a comment down below and let me know how you feel. I really am sympathetic to the family of this man. It really should not have happened. Yes, this man would probably be in jail because he is being arrested. So, who knows? He's been in jail before. But at least he would have a life, and at least his family would be there to visit him and to have a life with him. You never know. He could have turned his life around. It's a waste of a life, and I'm sickened by the killing. But also, he should not be made out as a saint, as a martyr. Again, this should be protested, but there should not be riots. It would be very interesting to know what Martin Luther King Jr. would say about all this. He would be for the protests, but I guarantee he would be against the riots. Because I feel that he would say, that it doesn't do the cause any good by doing all of this. But anyway, guys, if you would like to leave a comment, as I said, then do so down below. Give it a like if you did like it, and if you didn't, well, give it a dislike. And also share it if you have that way of doing it, if you can. But it was really good to get on the subject, and sorry for the late video as well. To be honest, I was just lazy. But anyway, till next time, it will be tomorrow. I guarantee it, and that's a Stephen Crosshaven guarantee. But anyway, until the next video, stay safe.